Welcome back to the Crypto Father channel. Today is the 27th of June. And you may be wondering, have I missed the $1 million price tag for Bitcoin? According to this article, yes, you probably have. We all probably have. It's a bit of a doozy. Let's unpack it, see what it's all about. I'll read through that, we'll see how long that takes, and then if there's enough time, if the video doesn't get too excessively long, I'll jump on to other articles, but this one in particular is an interesting read. So this is released by Crypto News, and it's based around a tweet that was released by an entity called Pledditor. Bitcoin did go to $1 million this cycle, according to crypto sleuth Pledditor. What does it mean? How is it possible? On June 24, 2025, a blogger using the Pledditor handle published an X post that kicks off like this. Bitcoin did go to $1 million this cycle, it's just the value wasn't captured by you. It was captured by them. Then Pledditor explains how 10x MNAV may help Bitcoin pioneers holding substantial amounts of Bitcoin trade Bitcoin at $1 million. How realistic is this scheme, you might wonder? A sleuth using the Pledditor moniker on Twitter made headlines in 2023 when he shared deleted tweets of Coinbase CEO Brian Armstrong. But basically, what is the scheme? In a recent Twitter thread, Pledditor dissects how the Bitcoin OGs, that is David Bailey, Adam Beck, 1031 Swan, and others, can trade Bitcoin at 1 million during the current cycle. The post goes as follows. Bitcoin did go to $1 million. This cycle's just the value wasn't captured by you, it was captured by them. If you are a Bitcoin OG with a bunch of coins, what you do is securitize your Bitcoin stack by SPACs, or SPACing it on the public market. SPACing are institutions or special purpose acquisition companies. You then create a irresponsibly long group on Twitter and show the ticker on a daily basis to your 100,000 followers, or if you don't want to lose your maxi card, you hire some broke-ass influencer to do all the shilling for you. As the stock pumps, you slowly exit your common stock position at an 10x MNAV. Congratulations, you just sold Bitcoin at a rate of $1 million per coin. And the kicker about this grift is that you still own the preferred shares. So you basically never really departed with your Bitcoin. You have the controlling votes in the company. The Bitcoin is still your asset. This is a reference made to Michael Saylor right now in any company that is putting Bitcoin on its balance sheet and sells its company shares to investors based on the back of that idea. For these penny stocks, the Bitcoin they are being seeded with is often directly obtained from Bitcoin OGs, not obtained from over-the-counter desk, which means these old micro-strategies have zero impact on the spot price. This is why Bitcoin is not pumping. We're still seeing Bitcoin at $107,000 because the value for Bitcoin is not actually the money that is supposed to go into Bitcoin is actually going into shares of companies that have acquired Bitcoin, or into ETFs that are just companies holding Bitcoin and selling you IOU nodes. So the money that is going into ETFs and into the shares of the companies holding Bitcoin is not actually going into Bitcoin itself. They're just fueling money for the companies. No self-custody, as Michael Saylor would say it. By the way, Scottie Pippen remaining the custodian of the basketball he supposedly securitized is how most of these stocks work. They tell you buying common gives you this amount of Bitcoin per share, when in reality, they own all the preferreds. They own the Bitcoin. Here's Scottie Pippen. So he's selling you ownership of the basketball via a meme coin, except he's not actually giving up the basketball, and your shares actually mean nothing. That's the idea behind MicroStrategy's shares. Everybody's buying MicroStrategy shares based on the assumption that MicroStrategy or strategy holds a lot of Bitcoin, but buying these shares does not give you exposure to the Bitcoin itself. Michael Saylor is holding that Bitcoin, and so by purchasing that, by jacking up the stock of MicroStrategy, Michael Saylor is now essentially selling the idea of Bitcoin for $1 million price tag. So going back to the article, In the post, Predator describes the way the early Bitcoin holders with huge bags can securitize their holdings. According to them, they may launch a strategy like treasury company and hype up people on Twitter, urging them to buy their stocks. They may do it themselves or via a third-party frontman influencer. Basically, if you have a company and you say, I hold a bunch of Bitcoin, here's my stock, buy my stock, and then people buy your stock, you can collect that money and then use it to buy more Bitcoin, which you hold. Or simply have that money based on the Bitcoin that you already bought, and the more stocks you sell, the higher the value of the Bitcoin becomes, essentially, especially when your company does nothing but hold the Bitcoin. As soon as the market net asset value reaches 10, the company founder may exit the common stock while keeping preferred shares for themselves. Given that the MNAV is 10 and the Bitcoin price is 100,000, the company founder technically sells their Bitcoins at a million while not fully departing with their Bitcoins thanks to keeping preferred shares. In the following tweets, Predator adds that the base Bitcoin for such ventures is coming from Bitcoin OGs, not even from the over-the-counter desk. So the impact on the market Bitcoin price is zero. Predator concludes, they tell you buying common gives you this amount of Bitcoin per share, when in reality they own all the preferreds, they own the Bitcoin. Earlier, Predator replied correct to a tweet saying that strategy is an exit scam for executives and Bitcoin OGs. His suggestion is that strategy is buying Bitcoin not over the counter, but from these OGs, and the OG Bitcoin holders are basically selling Bitcoin at $1 million price tags to MicroStrategy based on what MicroStrategy does by selling its own shares, likening treasuries to SPACs. On top of that, in the post, Predator compares the treasury companies to special purpose acquisition companies. Lately, this comparison has been occurring across the crypto Twitter repeatedly. Predator is not the only one to bring it up. There's a post from Beanie. Bitcoin and other crypto treasury companies are the new SPACs. The only people that got rich off the SPAC model 4 years later were those who created it. It's financial engineering. It never ends well for retail. Most SPACs are down 90% or more. Only a few are above initial price. And the point on SPACs, what are SPACs? SPACs are special purpose acquisition companies, or shell companies created to raise capital via IPOs or ICOs, as we had in 2017 and throughout 2018, 19, all the way to 2020. And to this day, we still have ICOs, but in the form of IPOs now, because now crypto companies have switched from selling tokens to becoming properly registered companies on the Nasdaq exchanges. So these are shell companies created to raise capital via IPOs to merge with a public company or to acquire it. SPACs have no operations. SPACs may be seen as an attractive way to release shares without having to go through the normal disclosures required for companies going public. Two waves of SPACs popularity in the 2000s and the early 2020s ended up rough for retail investors. No surprise there. Most of the time, they saw negative return rates for years. One of the latest popular SPACs was the top 2024 Trump media company merging with Digital World Acquisition Corporation. Currently, the DJT stock is traded well below the merging period price. No wonder the comparison between SPACs and treasuries is unfavorable and hints at the lack of real practical purpose behind companies like Strategy, Metaplanet, and their copycats. Particularly Strategy, since I kept to this day, I've always wondered, what does Strategy actually do beyond holding Bitcoin and tweeting about holding Bitcoin on every possible media outlet there is, or social media outlet there is. Both SPACs and the treasuries don't produce anything and have only a speculative value. That is the case with Strategy. I'm not exactly sure what Strategy does. If you look at MicroStrategy's website, basically he's got 1, 2, 3 different stocks that have been released, plus there's Bitcoin, right? And that's all you have. Options, assets, credits, purchases, shares, notes. About Strategy. We are the world's first and largest Bitcoin treasury company and the largest independent public traded business intelligence company. We We provide cloud-native AI-powered enterprise analytics software to thousands of global companies and leverage 35 years of software expertise to explore innovation in Bitcoin applications. We believe the combination of our operating structure, Bitcoin strategy, and focus on technology innovation provides a unique opportunity for value creation. Okay, so they say that they provide cloud-native AI-powered enterprise analytics. They leverage 35 years of software expertise. But so this is, yeah, I mean, AI, obviously AI is only a couple of years old. Software expertise, I don't know what MicroStrategy was doing before that, but in any case, right now it looks like MicroStrategy is just focusing on leveraging its Bitcoin and the three different stocks that it apparently sold. I didn't realize there were three, I thought there were only two, but apparently they've launched three different stocks. While Strategy's Bitcoin strategy raises concerns as it may seem too risky, Goldman Sachs analysts claim Bitcoin has to dip 50% to put the company at real risk. According to Focal, Mia from Go Mining Institutional, newer Bitcoin treasuries don't have proper safeguards. If Bitcoin price goes below 90,000, it may trigger liquidations and a ripple effect that will affect bigger treasuries too. So it's no wonder that Michael Saylor is really pushing for the purchasing of Bitcoin. It's in his best interest that Bitcoin remains above these prices, because think about it. I mean, he's got millions and millions of dollars invested, billions of dollars invested in Bitcoin. If Bitcoin were to have a 90% correction and see Bitcoin dip below his average purchase price of $5,000 it is right now for MicroStrategy, I believe, that would be devastating. I mean, having the price dip below 100,000 when he's spending millions of dollars on purchasing Bitcoin at $100,000 price tag, that would be bad enough. But if Bitcoin actually did retrace 80 or 90% and the price dumped to below $70,000, that would be tragic for him. So the lowest price for Bitcoin that we saw during the bear market, which was, quick look here, or was it 2024? No, that's this year, 2021. So after the bull market of 2021, Bitcoin retraced all the way down to $14,000. So this was a massive retracement of 78%. If Bitcoin were to do the same thing right here, never mind the mess that my charts are, if Bitcoin were to do the same thing here and retrace 78%, we would see a Bitcoin at $22,000, and that would be completely devastating for the likes of MicroStrategy and any other company that is basically throwing millions of dollars at Bitcoin right now in order to secure their financial standing. So it's in their best interest that more and more institutions begin to acquire more Bitcoin, and it's in their best interest that this price doesn't fall below a certain level, and it seems like the best level is at $90,000. This is why there is talk of the 4-year cycles having ended and a bull run never to come back again. And I would be very, very cautious of that, because these companies, you got to remember that these companies are here for one purpose only, and that is to make money. And what do you think, when they can push prices up, don't you think that they can simply make prices dump all over just simply by removing liquidity from the markets? So if the Bitcoin price goes below 90,000, it may trigger liquidations and a ripple effect that will affect bigger treasuries too. More than that, as regulation will allow companies to hold Bitcoin self-custody, Bitcoin ETFs and stocks of Bitcoin treasuries may lose their attraction for corporations. However, some Bitcoin enthusiasts find Michael Saylor's lack of interest in Bitcoin adoption disturbing. While he is advertising Bitcoin and urging everyone to buy Bitcoin, whatever it costs, Strategy is busy selling MSTR stocks, not exposing investors to direct Bitcoin ownership. That is a bit of hypocrisy, a lot of hypocrisy, and I'm really beginning to wonder about Saylor's intent, because it seems to me like, yeah, I've heard him say that he doesn't want to share how much Bitcoin he has, and that probably would be because then there would be a lot of questions about how much he's holding and what the price tag for those Bitcoin actually is. Because if you compared how much money he spent and how much money he's spending, you would be able to work out the actual value of those Bitcoins that he has. Not to mention that if you invest into MicroStrategy, you're not exposed to Bitcoin. You're just exposed to the company, which is fine. I mean, you're investing into a company, but it's not exposure to Bitcoin. And so it goes with the ETFs. If you are, it's like investing into that basketball that Scottie Pippen is holding, right? You're not actually investing into Bitcoin. Michael, sell your shares. Sailor must be tripping, telling everyone to buy Bitcoin for years, then watching everyone pile into every imaginable, explicitly non-Bitcoin financial product he offers. Truly amazing, absolute genius on his part. Yeah, again, he's telling people to buy Bitcoin, but at the same time, he's selling 3 different stocks, and people are plummeting their money into the stocks rather than going out and buying Bitcoin on exchanges. Like, it's insane. This is so bizarre. Which treasuries can boast 10x MNAV? While most treasuries' MNAV rate doesn't exceed a 3.0 mark, several companies already reached the threshold brought up by Predator in the past. On June 6, 2025, NYDIG shared the MNAV rates based on the SEC filings. It indicates that GameStop and Nakamoto have MNAV rates above the 10 mark, while Metaplanet and Strive are near this value with 7.6 and 9.1 rates respectively. It's worth saying that GameStop is leading the charge mostly because it had a substantial market cap before allocating Bitcoin, and the BTC share of GameStop's reserve is relatively small. The amount of criticism toward Bitcoin treasuries grows accordingly with the number of companies following the footsteps of Strategy. For that very reason, because just like Strategy, but Strategy in particular, these companies are saying buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin, but then they're essentially advocating people to buy their stock instead of Bitcoin. If people were truly interested in buying Bitcoin, and if they were truly following the words of these people who are running these companies, they would be investing into Bitcoin, not into shares that have been issued, concocted out of thin air by these people claiming to be the crypto gurus. So again, Michael Saylor is becoming a scammer. Like, it's turning out to be a scam. Like I said it before, he's selling 3 different stocks, all the while telling people to buy Bitcoin, but at the same time watching them pile their money into his stocks in his company, rather than taking that money and buying actual Bitcoin on exchanges or over the counter. However, I mean, all the millions of dollars that have been put into the Strategy company for these 3 stocks could have been spent on Bitcoin, which would definitely pump the price of Bitcoin, but it's not. That's the reason why Bitcoin is not pumping. That's the reason why Bitcoin is not at $1 million, and Ethereum and all the other altcoins. The altcoin season, I'm beginning to wonder. I looked at the altcoin season, peeps, and literally, so we've had the pump for 2021 was in November. The pump for 2017 was in December, and we just had a pump of 2023 which occurred in December as well. Then we had one in May, and I'm wondering if we're going to see a massive one at the end of this year, December, May. I guess that would be 4 years. The altcoin market had a nice pump in November of 2021, and then a pump in December of this year. But we haven't seen, didn't even reach the tops of 2021. So the highest, and the same thing for December 2017. So accordingly to that, we've had a pump for altcoins in 2017, December, 2021, October, November, and then now 2024 in December. And so we're expecting to have a final pump in the end of 2025, somewhere around here, because that would be the proper crescendo for this bull cycle. And you gotta wonder what these companies are going to be doing with their stock. So they may not be selling Bitcoin. So MicroStrategy, I could see MicroStrategy just hold on to Bitcoin and be the golden boy of Bitcoin, saying, look, I never sold anything as I said I wouldn't, but they will dump billions upon billions dollars worth of their stock and then use those proceeds to buy more Bitcoin. And they'll be laughing to the bank. And so all the companies that are selling shares, and the people who are buying shares in these companies, instead of Bitcoin, when these companies dump their shares on the market, which tanks the price of these companies, maybe not entirely, it's not going to go down by that much, but it'll go down by some amount, especially with the idea of a recession coming up. It'll be the perfect excuse for these companies to start dumping on the retail their shares and yet continue holding on to Bitcoin, claiming that they've never sold Bitcoin, just like they promised they wouldn't. But the money that investors, that retail invested into their silly as shares of these companies that essentially do nothing will be wiped out, and the companies will scoop up those profits, will scoop up that money and then pump it back into Bitcoin. Bitcoin will retrace as well, because retail will exit Bitcoin and the price will dump in Bitcoin, which will ultimately allow these companies to acquire more Bitcoin and then once again claim righteousness in the form of, we own Bitcoin, more Bitcoin now, so we're valuable, invest more money into us so we can take it away from you again over the next few years and then reinvest it into Bitcoin. But this is the reason why Bitcoin isn't pumping. This is the reason why Bitcoin is sitting at 100,000 rather than at the $1 million or whatever higher price tag that we should be seeing. I mean, it's pretty obvious that these companies are not great, and I've been saying that for a long time. ETFs are not great. Everybody was hailing ETFs because, oh my god, it's exposure, and oh, give me exposure to Bitcoin. People have been able to buy Bitcoin all this time. All you needed to do is go to Binance, go to any exchange and buy Bitcoin. If you wanted to spend millions of dollars, I'm sure you could have done it over the counter with these companies if you just contacted the CEOs. But no, instead of that, people are waiting for BlackRock to issue ETFs, and now they've got pockets full of IOU notes without having actual Bitcoin in their pockets. Like, it's ridiculous. And so now we've got these companies, instead of ETFs, they're selling shares. I still can't believe that there are 3. I literally thought that there were 2. And so they're selling shares of these companies. And so Pompliano did the same thing. He acquired, I talked about it yesterday, Pompliano acquired like over $300 million worth of Bitcoin in his company, which he most likely, you will probably soon hear an announcement of Pompliano selling shares of his company, and people will be jumping onto that bandwagon and buying the shares in his company because Pompliano owns, like, I don't know, a quarter or a third of $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, and so his company must be worth something. Humanity, man, it's a wonder that we still exist. It's a wonder that we're still here. Anyway, something to think about. Another thing to think about is the Descent wallet. I'm totally out of breath. I'm not even going to go over the other articles. Just keep in mind, this channel here, okay, this is unscripted. I do not write anything down. The only thing that I cut out of the videos are the awkward silences. That's the only editing I do on these videos. So if you want to if you want to support a channel, a crypto channel that is 100% genuine, then the Crypto Father is here for you, baby. Smash the likes on this video, subscribe to the channel. You see my face, you see who I am. Altcoin Daily just posts AI generated videos with scripted stuff. Like, why are these channels at a $1.4 million subscribers and the Crypto Father channel is struggling? Support this channel, the most genuine channel, crypto channel on the internet. I literally don't write any of my scripts down. I sit down, I read the articles, and I present them to you as they are. I don't try to twist words. I don't try to inflate anything. If there are scams, I talk to you about them. I present them to you as they are, so you're up ahead on what's wrong with the crypto world. And right now, I don't know, MicroStrategy is turning out to be a bit of a scammy project. That's what it seems like. Anyway, pick up a Descent wallet. It helps support the channel. You get a discount, I get a kickback. The ref links for that are below the video. Smash the likes on this video, subscribe to the Crypto Father channel, and I will see you in the next video. Weekend's just around the corner, so I probably won't be here, but I'll post a bunch of shorts, that's for sure. Have a fantastic weekend. Peace.